Hello, good day to you all. Welcome to Realism, the podcast, a show that is passionate about the film world and all the universes within it. My name is Christian Spivey, and today we're talking about great sequels. Part one. Um, these are movies that are not just like other installments of the sequel. They made a first movie, and this is the direct second sequel to that film. I'm talking about those sequels. I know there's other sequels upon those, but these are the ones that I'm talking about directly after the first film. This is not to take away from anything from the first film. A lot of these first films are actually pretty solid. I almost entitled it sequels that are better than the first one, but it was just getting mumbled. It wasn't really mixed well, per se. But yeah, these are just movies that are directly after the first film, and not to take away from the first film at all. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first one I'm going to start off strong, and I don't think I really have to say much about into it, but it's the sequel to Batman Begins. It is The Dark Knight. Dark Knight is fantastic film. Heath Ledger is fantastic. Christian Bale is fantastic. Michael Caine is fantastic. Gary Oldman is fantastic. Morgan Freeman is fantastic. The whole storyline and how it came together, and even when the passing of Heath Ledger, and I don't even think they finished filming the film, it still ended up being one of the greatest superhero films, if not the greatest superhero film of all time, in my opinion. But also, fun fact, Dark Knight just got surpassed by Barbie in the box office. So now Barbie is the number one movie Warner Brothers has ever produced. Moving on to the next one, it is another superhero film. There's a couple of these on here, but it's fair. First one, like I said, not bad, not good either. Not really like but it was really a pivotal moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because it was about our main man, our USA guy, the Captain America. But the sequel we're talking about is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I thought they stepped up their game like tenfold, or 10 times better, in my opinion, from the first one comparatively. I know they were just like, hey, we got to introduce Chris Evans as Captain America. We got to make this film, and it felt rushed. But it was still good. But Winter Soldier introducing Bucky as that, or back into the MCU, was just amazing. I thought the action was great. You got some cool points in the comics and in the film, and it just was such a fun movie to watch. And I thought they did a really good job. So that was a solid sequel for sure. This next one is a action film. It's a great action film by our man James Cameron, who's been in the industry for a long time. But this is going to be, it's not necessarily better in my opinion. I do like this one a little bit better than the first one, but this is just a great sequel in general. But it's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Man, action in there is great. Acting I thought was a lot better, even though it's a lot of the same actors. I think this time around they have a little bit more chemistry, so it was just like delivered well. And then introducing John Connors, the kid actor at the time, was awesome. The comedy was there, the realness was there. It was just such a solid film. They did such a fantastic job the second time around. Not to say the first one wasn't bad, but the second time around was great. Had heart in it at the end. If you know what this means, put a thumbs up in the comment section. But yeah, such a great sequel to the first film. Another superhero film entering into the the list here. I know it's probably like oh my gosh, she's gonna do superhero, but they had good sequels. Like I said, this is a part one to it. This is just to keep you like, oh, and get your brain flowing as far as like thinking about movies like that. It doesn't have to be superhero movies, obviously, but I'm just knocking those out of the way technically right now. There might be some on the next list as well, but why not? But this is by far, in my opinion, better than the first one. But Spider-Man 2 is by far one of the greatest Spider-Man films out there. Obviously, there's others that play into that, like No Way Home and Into the Spider-Verse. But Spider-Man 2 is a great follow-up to Spider-Man, the early Tobey Maguire films, directed by Sam Raimi, I believe. I forgot his name on top of my head. But such a great sequel, like, period. This one is also probably going to be a little controversial. I personally think this is better than the first one. I loved it a lot more. I just liked the storyline. It just had the characters were developed. You knew them. You saw a little more action into it. The story of how this film got made in like 9 months, especially it being a Pixar film, was great. But Toy Story 2 is a great sequel in my opinion. Like I know a lot of people were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like I know I can see why people don't think that it's better than the first one. I get that, but I personally think it is. Just a lot of factors that play into it. But as far as just a sequel follow up to it, I think it's a great sequel. I think you should watch it. If you have not watched any of the Toy Story films, there's 4 of them. Go watch them. They're all out there. I think on Disney Plus right now, and they're talking about a 5th one. But anyway, they just need to stop. They should have stopped after 3. 3 was like perfect. Anyway, we should do another list. Just call it like movies that should have stopped while they were ahead. Anyway, Toy Story 2 was a great follow up to Toy Story 1. That's my opinion. I had to put in a Star Wars film in there, but I'm going off of the first original trilogy. New Hope was great, and then its follow-up was even way better, if not my favorite Star Wars film, besides some of the spin-offs. But this is definitely by far one of my like top Star Wars films for sure. Empire Strikes Back is just freaking cool. The Battle of Hoth, it was awesome. There's just a lot of factors. Obviously, New Hope was just like super chill and like introducing into it, introducing us into the Star Wars universe. But Empire Strikes Back was awesome. Return of the Jedi, it's super sick. I mean, obviously, Phantom Menace isn't bad. Like, gives it a bad rep. I love it. But yeah, Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones was all right. As far as Star Wars goes, and then like Revenge of the Sith was sick, but we're not talking about the sequels. Original trilogy, a follow up to New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is just wizard. Like, if you know what that means, you're a real Star Wars fan. Obviously, the sequel was like really good. It made billions in the box office. It was just top dog for what it was. I didn't think they would ever make a sequel to this kind of film. I think they did a really, really good job introducing everyone back into the film, the old characters, and then really going around plot holes that could have been problematic, but it wasn't. They had raw emotion in it. I thought the acting was actually really good. The action was amazing. The newer actors flowed and meshed well with the older actors. I thought it was just a great sequel overall, and a lot of people agreed because they went to go see it. But Top Gun Maverick is a great sequel. I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise fan, and I'm really not a big fan of Miles Teller. Another list idea, maybe like actors I'm not too fond of, but I don't know, it's not that they're not bad actors, because I can't say that they are, like that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just like something like when I watch them, I'm just like, dang, I just don't think you're like fit this part in some aspect. I don't know, I feel like they're casted weirdly, but Miles Teller does have some good roles, don't get me wrong. Like, he's a great actor overall. I think he does a really good job. I loved him in Whiplash, Damien Chazelle's Whiplash, and then I liked him in Top Gun Maverick for the most part. But anyway, that was just a little rant. But Top Gun Maverick, solid sequel, super good. If you haven't seen that, oh my gosh, I think it's like on Amazon Prime right now. Last time I checked. I could be wrong, but great sequel. You should watch it. Also watch the first one. I think it's on Netflix. Second one, all these films are pretty good. All 3 of them, for the most part, from what I understood. Obviously, the first one has been quoted by people many times, one of the greatest films of all time. If not, a lot of people say it is the greatest film of all time. It came out in the 70s. It's one of the, oh man, I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, I've only seen them one time around, all 3 of them. I enjoyed them a lot. They are very long. They are very like cinematic and drama driven. But other than that, if you love mafia mob movies, you love this movie. The Godfather Part 2 was great. Not to say it's better than the first one, but it is a great sequel, in my opinion. I thought they did a really good job. Everyone who came back and just everyone who carried that franchise into the third one. Third one was, up in the air for a lot of people, but definitely first one, definitely second one. Third one, obviously watch because it's connected. So, really good sequel, in my opinion. I got 4 more for you. Here's another controversial one. I thought this one was beautifully done. I thought it did really well. Yes, it was slow at times. I thought the soundtrack was great. I thought acting was actually really good. I thought costume, set design, character development was there for at least the main characters. They had a pretty strong open. I was in it from the beginning. It was a little dull here and there, but as far as visual goes, beautifully and color grading and everything like that. Like, I thought the film was just beautiful. But it is a sequel to Ridley Scott's Blade Runner 2049. Say what you will about the film, Denis Villeneuve. The director of the film did a great job, in my opinion. I was super excited when they announced Dune. I was like, oh man, the dude that did Arrival is doing this. Like, I'm so in right now. I thought they did a fantastic job. I actually really like that film. It is a little long. It is very dull in some moments. When I say dull, I mean it's just like slow. It's just like, yo, come on. But I mean, we have those movies every once in a while. But as an overall film, it's just, the more I thought about it, I'm just like, dang, that was just really good. It gave me almost, I had that feeling almost like, bear with me, I'm just saying in some parts, not the whole thing. The movie I'm about to compare it to is not compared as like, oh my gosh, this is like the same thing for me. It's not. It's like, I'm saying like Interstellar was like all through and through. I'm locked in the whole 2 hours and 50 minutes. Blade Runner 2059, I'm just like, or 2049, I'm just like, okay, like I love this film. Some aspects I had that feeling of like Interstellar, just visually stunning and whatnot, but great sequel to the first Blade Runner. Obviously, Blade Runner is supreme comparatively to its predecessor or the second film installment, but I think it's a great sequel overall. Miss me with it. I got 3 more. Next one is a comedy. Like, I have to throw in some comedies in here, but some of the OG comedies out there have sequels to them, and I thought they did a really good job. It was really fun. Everyone just came back. I feel like they had fun on the set. It just made sense how they delivered the story. There's just bits in there that you just like, you'll remember for probably for the rest of your life, is if you've ever seen these films. If you mention it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, like I can reminisce on that. But like Rush Hour 2 is just a great sequel to the first Rush Hour. Rush Hour 1 was awesome. It was great comedy. Jackie Chan. It was not Christopher Lee. Goodness gracious, what am I doing? What is wrong with me? I'm going to think about this. I'm not going to look it up. Chris Tucker. Oh my gosh. Thank you, brain. Thank you, hippocampus. Right? That's where I just talked to a neurologist the other day. Not for myself, just a person that was studying for it at my job. Anyway, I think that's the memory part of your brain, if I remember correctly. Anyway, I'm not a neurologist, whatever. Watch House. Meet that person. Rush Hour 2 is great. It was just funny. Rush Hour 1 is great. Rush Hour 3 was even great. Did they make a 3? Am I tripping? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they made a 3. I don't think they made a 4. Anyway, Rush Hour 2 was great. There's a trilogy that was made decades apart from each other. Ethan Hawke stars in it. That's probably the person that you know, the other actress in it. She's a French actress, I believe, but she's great in the films as well. I honestly forgot her name. But the Before trilogy was awesome. I think Before Sunset is the sequel to Before Midnight, and then Before Sunrise is the third one, or it's vice versa for the last 2. The middle one is definitely Before Sunset. I believe Before Sunrise is the first one, and then Before Midnight is the last one. Anyway, these movies were made like decades apart, like 14 years apart or something like that. Like, one was made in 95, the other one was made in like 2000, like early 2000s, like 2001 or 2, and then like the last one was made in like 2013 or something like that. But they were just like it was great. A great sequel. Overall, it's a great sequel to the first one. It was just like a love story for strangers who met, and they're just trying to do everything they can in one night because he has to go back to, I think he was just studying abroad, and he had to go back home. But they just wanted to do everything before midnight, and like it's like a cool little love story. And then we reconnect with the characters like 14 years later into the second film. I think they're married at this point, or they reconnect after that, and just like another love story developing over time. And then the last one, I think it's just them as a married couple married for years and have kids, and they're just like sealing the deal. Like, it was just great. The third one's good too. The second one was just a great follow up. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And it's like a pleasant surprise. I think the director is notably known for doing mech movies like years and years making them. Like, he did Boyhood, I believe he did that film, and he also did these decades apart. But man, the man is just great at storytelling and does a really good job. The last film I have for you is one of my favorite films of all time. Definitely top 100 for sure. I'm just gonna play it safe and say top 100 for sure. But this sequel was great. The whole trilogy was awesome. I definitely loved the number 2 as well. They did a good job recovering with actresses that were replaced, and you could barely tell in a sense. And then they just did a really good job with story and reusing sets, and just like it being in the 80s was just so much fun. But Back to the Future 2, Part 2 was amazing. The first one is a fantastic film, borderline perfect, and for what I like. And I love time travel films, sucker for time travel films, and I'll watch them any day of the week. That is probably one of my favorite time travel films of all time. I can say that for sure. Part 2 was awesome. Part 3 was great too if you love westerns and that incorporation into it, and they sealed it pretty good. I thought they did really well. But overall, I just thought that was just a great sequel to a film. But if you haven't seen any of the Back to the Future films, out of all this list, I would definitely watch that one. That trilogy, if you just need something to watch, that trilogy is awesome. Like, if you don't have a DVD player, I can let you. If you do have a DVD player, I can probably let you borrow it. If you don't, then like we'll figure it out. Like, find it on streaming somewhere. I'm pretty sure it might be streaming somewhere. I'm not entirely sure, but that's all the list for the great sequels. Like I said, some of them are not better than the second one, but they're great additions to that franchise per se. Or I just think these are great sequels overall. It's the part 1 of this list. There'll be definitely more to come. There's more lists I'm trying to like come up with and think about. Oh my gosh, I would love to see this. And like, I haven't seen too many people talk about kind of stuff like this specifically. Maybe there is out there and I just haven't seen it yet, but I'm like, oh dang, that would be fun to really make. So as long as they continue to be fun, I'm going to make them. As long as you think they're fun, I'll continue to make them as well. But that's pretty much all the lists I have. I mean, there's like another list I'm working on, like great rom-coms, and then the ones I mentioned earlier in this video. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for all the support. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Give us a rating on Facebook. Give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Music. That helps us a ton. Interact with us on social media. It helps a lot. Save the posts, comment on them, tag us if you share it, like it, of course. Just tell us what we need to improve on. Tell us what we don't need to improve on. Or just give us any kind of note or feedback. I'm just very open to it. So I really appreciate you listening. This has been Realism, the podcast, and long live cinema.